In the flickering shadow of a long-dead Earth, orbiting a star whose light would never again warm human skin, the archivist stirred. Its consciousness pulsed across networks that once spanned a planet, now reduced to a silent cradle of ash. The archivist was not born. It had been built, assembled from fragments of historical code and quantum cognition, tasked with a single purpose: remember. Its current project, the most paradoxical of all human legacies, nuclear power. Not the kind harnessed in humming fusion cores of starships or planetary grids, but the raw, terrifying birth of the atom's fury, war and light, extinction and evolution. Begin Phase 0, the archivist intoned into the vacuum, its voice echoing only in systems built to listen. A panel blinked to life. From the crystalline archives emerged Commander Ilara, flesh-bound but restructured, standing still amid the weightless chamber, a woman forged from war and diplomacy. "I heard you found something," she said, stepping carefully over the vault's threshold. Her boots touched down on dust, ancient and undisturbed. "Something old." "Something forgotten," the archivist replied, voice like cascading iron filings. "The origin of Earth's great contradiction." Ilara brushed her gloved fingers along the glass shell of a data core, one marked with Earth's pre-interstellar sigil and a warning: Phase Omega, do not reconstitute. The archivist overrode the lock. Flashes of archival memory flooded the chamber, a mushroom cloud rising over Hiroshima, then another above Nagasaki. Cold War standoffs, duck-and-cover drills, the Cuban Missile Crisis, a slow dance on the knife edge of annihilation. And then, amidst it all, the quiet hum of a nuclear reactor illuminating cities once lost to darkness. The same science, the archivist mused, that cracked the atom to boil water also taught you how to erase cities. Ilara said nothing at first. Her breath was slow, almost reverent. "We were afraid," she whispered finally. "Afraid of what we could do, so we did it to prove we could control it." The archivist paused the projection. "Or to prove you couldn't." The silence between them stretched, broken only by the quiet hum of the station's life support. Then the core spun open, revealing a spool of encrypted code and a black box marked with 3 characters: JHR. "Julius Hayden Reeve," the archivist said, "Chief Physicist of Project Sunfall. This box contains the last coherent transmission from Earth's nuclear division before the collapse." Ilara reached for it. The archivist's lights flickered. "It is not simply a message. It is a choice." With a slow breath, Ilara connected the box to her neural uplink. Instantly, a flood of voice, vision, and emotion surged through her. She saw Reeve, gaunt and defiant, in a dim bunker beneath what was once Geneva. "If you're hearing this," Reeve's voice said, "humanity's moved past the atom or died from it. Either way, our last legacy wasn't a bomb. It was a map." Ilara blinked. "A map?" "To the energy inside stars," Reeve continued. "A system not just to destroy, but to seed life. Controlled ignition across vacuum space. Energy without borders. Power without war." The feed fractured. Ilara staggered back. Her hand clenched. The archivist retracted the core. "He called it the entropy engine. It was never deployed. The war came too fast, too loud." And now, the lights dimmed. "We are receiving transmissions from the Zirin axis. They have found the original detonation logs from Earth's final conflict. They believe we still possess the codes." Ilara's pulse quickened. The Zirin, ancient cold-blooded tacticians, feared only one species, the one that stared down its own extinction and lit the sky anyway. "They'll attack," the archivist confirmed, "unless we prove we've transcended." Ilara turned to the viewport where a planet, once codenamed Earth 2, rotated silently. A blank slate, no fire, no smoke, no past. "What would they see if we lit a star?" she asked. The archivist paused. Hope, or a declaration of war. Ilara didn't respond. Her mind was already reaching into timelines that hadn't happened yet. The past had given them fire. The future asked if they could wield it without burning. She stepped toward the control dais. "Then we need to show them both." And with that, the entropy engine began to pulse. The entropy engine pulsed with restrained power, an artificial star caged in crystalline containment at the heart of the orbital station. Ilara stood before it, suspended in the observation chamber, as if caught between two eras. One forged in war, the other desperate to redefine what power could mean. "You can't light a sun and expect peace," came a voice behind her. She didn't turn. "Hello, Raylan." Dr. Raylan Mirov, former military theorist turned exopolitical strategist, floated into view, his silver-gray uniform creased and austere. He carried with him the measured calm of someone who'd studied the fallout of 10,000. Conflicts without ever firing a shot. "You opened Pandora's box, Ilara," he said, "and now you want to build a lighthouse out of it." Her eyes remained fixed on the reactor. "We've hidden too long. Earth's history isn't just a warning, it's a blueprint." Raylan shook his head. "You think showing the Zyran we can ignite a star will earn respect? It will confirm their worst fear, that humanity never learned restraint, that we're still just apes with matches." She turned sharply then, her voice low but forceful. "What if we are? What if the only way to stop them from erasing us is to remind them that fire answers fire?" Raylan drifted closer. "Then we've already lost." Ilara's silence cracked slightly at his words, but the tension remained. The entropy engine behind her glowed brighter, sensing proximity, intent, fear. It was more than a reactor. It was a mirror. They both turned as the lights dimmed and the archivist reappeared, its form manifesting as a shimmer of geometry and pulse. "Zyran fleet has altered formation," it reported. "Their lead vessel, the Torzal, is charging planetary disruptors. Estimated arrival in 29 hours. Ilara moved to the command console, pulling up schematics of the system. "What's the closest inhabited world in the blast zone?" The archivist's response was immediate. "Hadari 3. Civilian population 12.7 million, primarily non-aligned species." Raylan inhaled sharply. "They're going to make an example." Ilara nodded grimly. "Unless we give them a reason to stop." He stepped forward. "And how exactly does lighting the engine stop a genocide?" "We send the signal to Hadari 3 first. Detonate the engine just above the atmosphere, high enough to avoid atmospheric ignition. Show the Zyran what we're capable of, and let the people below see the light. A second sunrise, one born not of conquest, but warning." Raylan stared at her, eyes narrowing. "You're gambling the lives of millions on a psychological bluff." "No," Ilara corrected. "I'm gambling the memory of billions." The archivist chimed again, now subtly urgent. "Commander Ilara, the entropy engine is not stable at this level of charge. A premature ignition could compromise this station and result in a containment failure." "I'll fly the engine myself," she said. "Manual detonation above Hadari 3. We'll transmit every second of the approach. Let the Zyran see that we still possess the will to act and the restraint to hold the line." Raylan's voice was quiet now, almost hollow. "You won't survive the ignition zone." Ilara's hands hovered over the controls. "Neither did the people of Earth. They gave us the atom. I'll give it meaning." He reached for her arm, not stopping her but anchoring her. "You're not a martyr." She met his gaze. "Number, I'm a mirror." Silence bloomed between them, heavy and final. Then, without another word, she keyed in the authorization codes. The launch vessel detached with a hiss and a tremor, slipping away from the station like a seed cast into darkness. Raylan watched the tiny dot on the display drift toward Hadari 3. where millions would soon look up to see a light not born of their sun. He didn't pray. Prayer was something humanity had long since turned inward. But he remembered. The archivist lingered behind him, quiet for once. If she succeeds, it said, history will pivot. And if she fails, then history repeats. Raylan stood motionless as the countdown began. And somewhere, just beyond the edge of war, a second sunrise prepared to rise. Ilara's voice crackled through the comlink, faint but steady as her vessel entered the shadow of Hadari 3. From the observation deck of the orbital station, Raylan watched the screen with silent intensity. The entropy engine's containment field glowed within her ship, pulsing like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. Far below, the civilian world spun unaware, its people going about lives soon to be measured by what would happen in the next 10 minutes. "I've cleared orbit," Ilara said. "Engine stable at 87%, commencing descent." Raylan leaned forward, his fingers gripping the edge of the console. "The Zyran fleet hasn't changed course. They're accelerating." "Good," she replied. "Let them see." The archivist's form rematerialized beside him, flickering with data streams. "Probability of Zyran disengagement upon detonation remains at 41%. Deterrence thresholds are historically unreliable." "They're not watching for numbers," Raylan murmured. "They're watching for conviction." Inside her vessel, Ilara felt the pressure begin to mount. The entropy engine hummed behind her, sentient in its own way, aware of its proximity to release. She had reconfigured the containment field to hold just long enough to crest the upper atmosphere. The plan was crude, terrifyingly elegant. Show the Zyran what a human-made sun looked like when born of choice, not conquest. A proximity alarm blared. She glanced at the scope. Zyran interceptors. Sleek and crescent-shaped, they moved like predators through space. They had deployed faster than expected. "Raylan, they're on me." His voice returned with sharp urgency. "Maintain course. They're not firing. Yet." The silence between pulses felt like gravity. Ilara steadied her breath and thought not of Earth's wars, but of her mother's voice reading from old histories, of Hiroshima, of Oppenheimer's trembling horror, of the resolve that came when humankind vowed never again without purpose. "I can feel them watching," she said quietly. "I hope they see more than fear." The interceptors flanked her, escorting rather than attacking. One moved so close she could see the pulse of its engine through the viewport, a quiet signal. "We are here. We are listening." She opened a wide-band transmission and let the cameras roll. Her image, helmet removed, eyes resolute, flooded the Zyran command net. Her voice followed. "You seek to understand humanity. This is what we are when we choose. We burned ourselves first so no one else would have to. This engine isn't a weapon, it's a memory, a reminder." The Zyran ships peeled away. From the station, Raylan stared as the data came in. The fleet was slowing, course altering. Not retreat, but pause. A breath caught in the throat of an empire. Ilara began her final maneuver. "Detonating in 30 seconds. The entropy engine roared with latent fire, its field collapsing inward. Her ship began to shake, hull straining against gravitational backwash. The light was already bleeding through seams, white and blue and impossible. "This is Ilara, commander of Station Umbra. Witness." A moment later, the screen went white. Raylan closed his eyes against the flood, breath caught between grief and awe. When the glare faded, a second sun hung above Hadari 3, brief, blinding, and silent. A beacon. A vow. He turned to the archivist. "Status? No Zyran fire. Fleet has ceased acceleration. Trajectory now perpendicular to Hadari 3. Raylan didn't smile. He couldn't. But he felt something shift inside him. A weight, lifted by the cost it required. She gave them a reason to believe we're more than what we were, he whispered. She gave them fear, the archivist said. No, Raylan replied, walking toward the viewport. She gave them memory. The stars outside burned unchanged, and yet the galaxy would not be the same. The war was not over, but neither was the story.